Adam, I want you to rate this snare EQ. Go.
Got it. 7.6. 5.4.
What? What's our out of 10?
Out of 10. Yep. Boom. Done.
I saved this post the other day. Okay, if you guys aren't in the Church Sound Media Text Facebook group, you probably should be, along with the Churchfront Facebook group. We'll pull some posts from that as well today. But I wanted to chat about this. I see this often. A lot of people do share a picture of like, hey, how's my EQ, or like, should it be different? And I think some people they might do it just for the fun of kind of trolling the group sometime, just so that to see what the reactions are going to be. But serious, on a more serious note, what are your thoughts, Adam, about EQ, using the this graphic EQ and drawing hills and valleys? Like, what's your opinion here? How should people be approaching the way they EQ things, and what might this tell you about the particular instrument or vocal that is being EQ'd?
Yeah. So there's two things. I think they can live in coexist. The first one is use your ears, not your eyes. I don't know if you're sharing my screen or yours, but we've got the cool SpongeBob typing of, but how does it sound? But honestly, that is a real consideration. Like, if you're using this EQ and it sounds great, then I can't really bash you for that. But what that does tell me is that your sound system or your source is not set properly.
So that's why we talk always about getting the source right.
Yep, we always talk about getting the source right. I mean, you'll still need to, use the EQ to shape it. It's not like you can leave everything flat, but if you have a great sounding source and you have a great sounding PA, you're only using your EQ to get that instrument to sound good in context with the other instruments.
Got it. So there's, like, looking at this snare, I'd be like, okay, why are we having to boost the high shelf so much? It's adding 12 decibels of kind of that airiness, crispiness to the snare. Well, where is this? Because there's just probably one mic that's on top of the snare, so it's not hearing any of the bottom of the snare where you do get all that nice high sound, the actual snare hitting the drum, like the beads. Maybe that's what's going on there. And maybe because it's also the top of the snare, it's getting just too many of those mids, kind of like the 500 to 1K range. That's why they're cutting it so much.
Yeah,
so that's what I think.
Yeah, that's a good guess. Yeah, I think that's definitely could be what's going on there. And they are cutting the lows at 900 hertz, so I mean that's a decent spot to cut. And I don't know what's going on with this 1K area. Like that's a really wide Q. They're cutting a lot of mids out. Yeah. But I mean I sometimes pull that much, like 200 hertz out if it's sounding really like boxy or woofy. I'll pull a ton of that frequency range out. So to me, it's maybe they don't have a bottom snare and they're using this to compensate. I actually did something pretty close to this on last Sunday when I mixed at my new church. It doesn't have a snare bottom mic yet, and I was really cranking that high shelf.
Which is a good point to say it's probably a good idea to get a bottom mic, and then you have two mics doing the job of what one mic is trying to do right now. And boy, does it make a difference. I was just here at Grace Church, Melbourne, and it's actually funny we're talking about this because we just added a bottom mic to that setup. They had I think it was just a one top mic, and there was like a snare trigger thing. I was just like, let's go ahead and get the top and bottom, and then we can really get the tone of that snare. So the top mic, the way that one is EQ'd is, for the most part, that's like the beefiness of the snare that I want to get. So I'm not having to boost any of the highs. Of course, you don't get any of it, but like that, I like the lower mids on the top mic of a snare to kind of like make it so I can feel that snare when they actually hit it, right? Not as much as a kick drum, but like you still kind of feel it. And then on the bottom mic, that's where we're getting kind of the higher treble sound of that mic, or the snare sound. So I have a high pass filter that's or a low cut that's up pretty high. It's actually, I think I had it maybe up to like maybe 200 hertz or something like that, because it really just doesn't need any of that low frequency information, because the bottom snare mic is getting that information. And boy, oh boy, does it make a huge difference in how good that snare is going to sound. And it did. So now I'm like very happy with the live sound of the snare. It's not a trigger or anything like that. The broadcast mix, we're still using Steven Slate trigger, but for in the room, we've got top and bottom mic. It sounds amazing. And then my other, what I did with the snare is, of course, there's a compressor on it. And then we add a little bit of verb to it, and then sounds great in the space. So
yeah, people will probably ask, and I'm curious, what are the microphones that you're using on the top and the bottom of the snare?
I believe they're both 57s.
Yeah,
I know one of them is. I probably should actually know, but Dylan was the one, he slapped them on rehearsal the other night, and I'm like, yep, gain looks good, sounds good, apply a little EQ, and it seems to work pretty well. So you, speaking of drum mics too, you're looking into drum mics solution there in Hillcrest?
Yeah, I was looking at, I'm just so used to using the Shure kit, the Beta 52, SM57s, and the SM81s for overheads. Done tons of festivals or tours, whatever. That's kind of a standard. I've done a lot with the Audix kit, with the D6 and the D2 and D4 tom mics, and the whatever overheads come with them. It's another kind of standard that you'll run into in a lot of different venues and different places. And I'd worked with them both, and I thought, a lot of new microphone companies are coming out with different types of microphones. So I even posted this in the Church Sound and Media Tech's Facebook group to see if anyone has used these by SC Electronics. They have their own drum mic kit, and at South Fellowship, when we were serving there, we both really loved that V7 microphone that they had for a vocal mic. So I'm gonna look into those drum mics, and they've got good reviews, so it'll be interesting to try something that deviates from the standards a little bit.
Yeah, I'll pull them up here. This is the kit you're talking about, right? Some reason I don't know if you were sharing it on your screen, but it was still on the previous.
Oh no!
But this one, right? That's a club drum microphone kit. Is that the one, or is it a different one? Okay, sweet.
Yeah, they have a couple different series, like the overheads would be S7s versus S8s or something like that, but the same V beat for the toms and snare, and the same V kick, or whatever they call it.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, if anybody out there in the comments section has any experience with those mics, let us know for sure. So, well, that was a little snare drum fun for today.
I think for the thumbnail, I think you should screenshot this EQ and
I will.
Take a photo like you're in a toboggan, and then be sledding down the high shelf.
Yes, I'll totally do that. Oh my gosh, I'll see that's a great thumbnail idea. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll just I'll put my face on like a little person in a toboggan, or like a Santa Claus outfit going down in the Santa sleigh or something like that. All right,
that's awesome.